Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be winterizing this 41-foot horse trailer down here, living quarters. And these are the tools that we're going to use. We use some of the antifreeze basically just to pour down in the traps to keep them from freezing. But what we do is we blow the lines out first, and then we've already drained the tank, so it's just going to be a matter of blowing all the stuff out, making sure it's out of the toilet valve, and then we'll pour a little bit of water in the drains. But the rest of the lines will be just blown out with air. So you're going to need a little crescent wrench, and this is a little RV blowout cutout plug is what it's called. Take that out. You can get that at any of your hardware stores, and this screws into your water line that which you would pull up to the camping site. You'd get your garden hose out and you'd hook it to the hydrant out there, and then you'd also hook it to the side of your trailer, and that would provide water for you. Well, this is going to hook to the very same spot. So we're going to go down and put this on first, and then we'll have our air compressor. These are the tools you need. You need a little air compressor here that you can use, and we don't ever use more than about 50 pounds of air pressure. So, okay, so we have our air line out here, and this is what I was talking about. This is where you would normally have your water coming from the hydrant at your campsite. So we're going to go ahead and screw that in, and then we'll tighten that up. Use a little crescent wrench. It doesn't have to be super tight, just so it doesn't leak. Tighten it up like this, and then our air hose will hook right onto this. Now we're not going to hook that up just yet because we've started that air compressor and it's built up to 110 pounds of pressure. So what we have to do is have to adjust this down to 50 pounds. Now when I said you need a little air compressor, you got to have one that's got a couple of 2 gauges on it here. This gauge right here is going to tell you how much pressure is in the tank. This gauge right here is going to tell you how much pressure is coming out to the line. So right now it's running 125 pounds of pressure, if you can see that. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this down, and what this is going to do is let that bleed off. So we get it coming here. And we want this to be down at about 50 pounds of pressure. Any more than that, you take a good possibility of blowing a fitting apart in your trailer. So we run about 50 pounds. And once this thing kicks on and we start blowing air through it, we may have to come back up and adjust this a little bit more just to maintain 50 pounds. So right now there's 125 pounds in the tank of air, and there's only 50 pounds that's going to be coming out of the regulator and down the hose. So now we can hook this up. And then you want someone to be inside so they can open up a valve. So what we're going to do, I'm going to send the camera person inside. She's going to open up a valve, and then I'm going to hook this up. All right, so before we hook up that air hose over there, when we park these trailers, we're fortunate enough we have a little bit of a slope here on our drive. And what we're going to do is we're going to drain the hot water heater first. That way we're not pushing all of that hot water through the lines trying to get it out of the hot water system. So to do that on this particular heater, you need a 3/4 inch socket, and you need a little bit of an extension here. And stick it up on here. You got to take the plug out, and then that water is going to drain out. Now this has got like a 6-gallon water tank on it, so it's going to be a little bit of water. Oh, there we go. It's got a lot of pressure. So we'll let that set and we'll let that drain. And it's going to take a couple minutes. And then once that drains out, then we'll go ahead and hook our air up. All right, so we've got the drain plug out of the hot water heater, and we've got the hot and the cold faucets in the sink in the kitchen open. So we're going to go ahead now and attach this, and it has 50 pounds of air on the compressor.
Actually, only the cold's open right now. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because we have the plug out on the hot
on
water
the hot,
heater.
yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to walk back up here and make sure that we only have 50 pounds.
I'm gonna walk around to this side because I think I hear more water coming out of the hot water tank over here where it had stopped a minute ago. Oh yeah, you can see it burbling out of there where it's clearing out those lines now. Okay, so we have the cold water open in here. We're not getting any more water out of it, so I'm gonna open the hot water now and close the cold water. You're gonna have something open all the time. So I go from the the sink on back to the next spot here in the bathroom. And then we're gonna open the two here. And then we gotta open it down here at this end too, because this has the one that shuts off on the end down here. So we don't actually have any water coming out of there. And then we also got a sink here, so you gotta open all of them to see if we can get some water coming out. So this one's open here now, and then we're gonna open the toilet and try to see if we can get any water coming out of there and make sure that's all drained out. So I'll shut this one again so you only have kind of one open at a time, trying to pump the air, push the air through the lines there. So open the sink back up again and close that. You want to open the sink up there again?
Yeah, did you already do the lavatory sink?
Mm-hmm, I did.
Nothing coming out of the hot. This is a cold. Not seeing anything on the cold.
No.
Okay.
So I think the
So I
last
think
thing to
that's-
do, oh, nothing's open now if you want to open that.
Well, we got the hot water heater.
That's
It's
true.
That's still
Okay.
blowing water
I'm
out.
going to run the pump here for a minute down here. I'm trying to make sure that's all drained out now.
All right, we're still waiting on the water to drain out. We're blowing it out with the air on the side. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's still coming out. We're going to let that run for a few minutes. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and use some Teflon tape on this brass plug. And the way you want to do that, you want to make sure when you put the tape on, as you're screwing it in, you know, your tape needs to be on like this. It needs to go around it like this, and I'll show you here in just a second. But we're not going to put the plug back in right now. We're just getting it prepped for, you know, the next time we use it for the rodeo. All we'll have to do is throw the plug back in, tighten it up, and go. But we'll leave the plug out for the rest of the time here. That way, if there's any water that does freeze in there, it'll have some place to go. So anyway, we're going to wrap the tape around like this. It doesn't take a lot, just takes some. And we're going to pull it off here. So the way that's rolling like this, when you plug this back in, you're going to be turning it like this. And that way that thread in the hot water heater will be running like this. That way it won't grab it and open it up. It won't pull it off. So this is going to be ready to go when we decide we're going to use this trailer again. And what we'll do is we'll take it, stick it back in here, you know, stick it on our socket here, put it in, screw it in, tighten it up, and then we'll be able to put water in it. So for right now, we're just getting it ready for the next time. So we're going to set it down like this, and when we're done running air through this, when this thing quits spitting water out, then we're going to go ahead, close this up. We'll leave the plug out, but we'll close it up, and that'll hold it in place, and that'll be ready for the next time. So while we're waiting on the air, what we're going to do is we're going to dump some antifreeze, RV antifreeze, down into the drains, because we had antifreeze in them earlier, but we ran water through it now. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put some more in there just so we don't have a trap freeze up. So we're getting ready to dump this in the traps, in the kitchen sink, in the shower, and in the lavatory back in the bathroom. And then also we're going to dump some down the drain of the toilet to get it down into the tanks below, and then we'll take our foot off the pedal, put that sealer, and then we'll pour a little bit of antifreeze on top of that, and that will keep that seal lubricated, and it'll keep anything from freezing in that. Now, the way that we used to do this is we would have an electric pump, and we'd have it hooked to the same place where the air is hooked into now, where your water would go, and then we would stick a hose down in here, and we would pump water through all of the lines throughout the whole thing. And what that did was...
You'd pump antifreeze, right?
I'm sorry, yeah, not water, but antifreeze, sorry. You'd pump the antifreeze through all of the lines, and you would pump it until you would see antifreeze coming out of the spigot for the cold, same thing for the hot. It took a tremendous amount of antifreeze doing it that way, because the hot water heater alone held 6 gallons. So, but then we would have, everything would be completely full of antifreeze. Well, that worked really good for years, and then we got one year where we had a bad batch of antifreeze that had a terrible smell to it, and it took us 2 years, I think, to get that smell out of our water lines. We ran thousands of gallons of water through this thing, trying to get that smell out of it. And ever since then, we've gone to the route where we're blowing the lines out. We're still putting antifreeze in the traps because that just goes into the holding tanks, but we're not putting antifreeze back in the lines again. If you blow it out properly, you take your time, it'll work. So right now we're going to go inside and we're going to put some of this in the trap. Doesn't take a lot, you just got to fill the trap up. It's like 1.25 inch pipe. So we'll put some in this. We're going to put some down this drain. We're going to put some down this drain. And we're going to put some down this drain. So we're going to flush that down. In fact, we're going to put a little more down there. That'll keep that tank, if anything's in that tank. We drained it, but there's always some residual. So we're going to put about that much in there. That'll keep that seal lubricated, keep it from freezing. All right, I think we got about as much out of this as we can get with the air, but with the way that this plug is up a little bit higher than the base of the heater, use one of these little suction pumps, and it's pull that down straight down like that way. And we'll keep pumping it here and see if we can't get anything else out of it. There we get a little bit, but not much. So I think that's probably going to be pretty much everything. All right, so we're going to go around on the other side now and unhook the air, and then we'll be ready to button this up. So I think we can go ahead and close this up at this time. This is our plug for when we get ready for the next trip. We'll stick that in, tighten it up. Remember, on this particular one, it's a 3/4 inch socket. 6-point would be the best. 12-point kind of slips, seeing as how the head of this is square. So we're going to close this up. We'll go around and shut that air off. On the other side, I think we're done with this, so we're just going to go ahead and disconnect this. There we go, and then we'll take that out here in just a second. Put our plug back on it. Keep the little mud daubers out. And we're done. Winterized. Thanks. Have a good day.